When I was watching one of the live video calls that I did with Errol Campbell, there was something that he said at the end that stood out. He basically said that the people who were watching the video were free to share it with those who were ready, not those who simply needed it. Hearing this made me think about how there is a huge difference between needing assistance and being ready for assistance. The difference is almost big as the disparity between needing it and not needing it. I ended up thinking about how I didn't know the difference between someone who needed help and someone who was ready for it during the beginning of my journey. If I came across someone who was not in a good way, I just assumed that they would be more than happy for me to share what I had learned with them. I wasted a lot of time doing this. It had a negative effect on my well-being, and I often felt as though I was doing something wrong. This was partly because what I shared was often rejected, and partly because I received a lot of negative responses. After having experience after experience of being knocked back, I started to act with more restraint when I came across someone who needed assistance. This became easier when I started writing articles and books. Instead of diving in there and talking about different things, I could just talk about what I did and leave it up to someone to decide for themselves if they wanted to go any further. I had given them a candle, and it was then up to them if they wanted to go into the cave, so to speak. I also came to see that even though I believed that a certain person should do something, I could only see part of the picture. Ultimately, I might have had something to share, but that didn't mean that this person needed to hear it. And if I had tried to force something onto them, not only would I be acting in a controlling manner, but I might prevent them from going through something that they needed to go through in order to grow and develop. I didn't know everything, and I wasn't the ultimate authority. By stepping back and no longer trying to fix, rescue, or save others, I came to see that I was trying to avoid myself. What I really needed to do was to deal with the parts of myself that were not in a good way. I wasn't able to see what was going on initially as I was unaware of why I was behaving in this manner. When behaving in this way became too frustrating, I had to step back and look within myself. What can make it hard to realize when someone is not ready to be assisted is when they act as though they are. They could be in a really bad way and even talk about what has been going on for them, but when an option is put forward, they may say that they are too busy, for instance. For one reason or another, they are not willing to go to the next step and to change their circumstances. Still, if someone like this knows that help is there if they need it, they might end up reaching out when they are actually ready. Perhaps you can relate to this, perhaps you have been there before, and perhaps you are there now, where you reach out to someone who is not in a good way and is creating the impression that they want to be assisted, but they end up rejecting and resisting your assistance. So on one level they will need help, perhaps desperately, but on another level or another part of them won't be ready for help. And because of this, you will simply be wasting your time and energy trying to assist them. So even if you're not trying to save, fix, or rescue them, perhaps you are just simply trying to assist them, and because of where they are at, they won't be able to accept what you have to offer, your suggestions, and because of this, it will then be up to you to disconnect, to take a step back, and perhaps to look into why you are trying to assist them. You will almost certainly need to do this if you are trying to fix or save or rescue someone. Perhaps you may see, as I've said, that this is a sign that you are trying to avoid a part of yourself that needs to be saved or rescued or fixed. Really, it will need to be acknowledged. And so this is something that took me a long time to understand, but it certainly saved me a lot of time and energy and I could then use this in a far more creative way and to be there for the people or the person who is actually ready to be assisted. If you would like to find out more about the services that I offer, please go to www.oliverjrcooper.co.uk or email me at info@oliverjrcooper.co.uk, and I'm looking forward to assisting you on your journey.